In the previous module, we looked at intercepting traffic and passively reading it using Fiddler. So effectively what we were doing was looking at how the app was communicating with APIs and finding sensitive data in that communication. That was fine, but it was very passive. What I want to start showing you now is how we can use Fiddler to change the behavior within the app. And I'm going to pick a really simple example first. Fiddler has an add-on ecosystem. So for example, earlier on in the course, I mentioned syntax highlighting. We can see that extension just here on the Fiddler add-on page. That gave us the ability to view a web page in a web page mode, not just the raw HTML, or JSON in a nice formatted hierarchical fashion. That was from this add-on. There's another add-on that I'd like to show you now, and it's this one, the image flipper. This is a pretty self-explanatory add-on, and all it's going to do is rotate the image 180 degrees. Now, why is this important? Well, it's important because it shows how, when you own the connection, you can change the data that's sent to the device. Now, I don't mean own the connection like a man in the middle who's compromised someone's Wi-Fi network. I mean someone who owns the device and can modify the traffic at any point between the app and the server. Now, that may be on the wire, like a man in the middle would do, but it may also be after the connection has been decrypted if HTTPS is used. And we're going to look at how to do that in a later module. For now, let's go and show you why this image flipper is significant. So the first thing I'm going to do is start up Fiddler again. I've already got the image flipper extension installed. So I'm just going to go up to Tools and down to Flip Images. That's it. It is now running and we're going to get images rotated. Now let's go and start the emulator again and fire up our mobile app. So here comes the app, sitting in a nice position over there to the right of Fiddler so that we can see the requests. Now it's still going to make the request just the same as always. It's still going to be proxied through Fiddler, but because Fiddler controls the traffic on the connection, it can manipulate both the request and the response. Now this image here on the load screen is baked into the app. It's not requested off the server. But each of these images here, these guys, are requested from the server, and they are upside down. It's a little hard to tell when you just look at thumbnails, so let's drill back down into the McLaren again. And here is an upside down McLaren. We'll go back into the Nissan. Here is an upside down GTR. So clearly what's happening here is that Fiddler is changing the behavior in the app. Okay, it's only rotating an image 180 degrees. That looks pretty innocuous, but let us not lose the significance of what we're seeing. By owning the connection, we're making the app behave in a completely different way. In this case, we used an extension, but what we're also going to look at in this module is using Fiddler script. And I want to show you what I mean by that. I'm going to jump back over to Fiddler, go to the Fiddler script tab, and we'll see here in the Go-To menu that we have a number of events. And the two events that I'm most interested in the context of this course is the onBeforeRequest event and the onBeforeResponse event. Effectively what this means is that for onBeforeRequest, when the client sends out a request, and again in this case the client is a mobile app, Fiddler has the ability to intercept and modify that request. So for example, it could route the request to a different location. So say, rather than requesting the API from hackyourselffirst.troyhunt.com, it could request it from a totally different resource. Now, what would happen if that resource responded with the API in such a way that it caused the app to behave differently? We'll take a look at that in a little while. For on-before response, this is after the server has already received the request, it's responded, and Fiddler's sitting there just before that response is sent to the client, and it has the ability to modify that response. So for example, it might change the content of the response, or the HTTP status code, or a header. Fiddler owns the connection. We, with our hacker hat on, own the connection. And consequently, we can change exactly what the device sends and exactly what the device receives. We just did that by flipping images. Let's now go and actually start modifying the API. And we're going to start by modifying that on-before request event in order to tamper with the API. Let's go and do that now.